Is it custom? Is it statute? Is it international treaty? And we know the answer to that. That's all part of international law and the law of armed conflict, the lex specialis of the law of armed conflict. So that when you decide to figure out the answer to a question, do you look to a commentary? Do we look to the Talon manuals for an answer to cyber law? Do we look to the APs? Do we look to the Hague conventions? Is that still good law because it's so old? Is the Kellogg-Briand Treaty still effective? What's the difference between the Geneva Conventions and the APs? Why have both? We have to understand these various connections. What's the difference between an AP country and a non-AP country? As practitioners,
what's the difference
whether you're a lawyer or
Geneva
not, you have to understand nation states, as we know it, make international law. Not you and I, not people who write about the law, not people who have a lot of very well-informed opinions. Professor Schmidt is one of the most prolific, most brilliant people I know. He doesn't make the law. So while I read his commentaries and his opinions, and I take them as authoritative, that's not necessarily the law. So you and I have to make sure we distinguish. Why is this important? Because your commanders have to know the law. Your soldiers have to know the law. History, as I'll talk, is replete with examples who didn't follow the law because either they didn't know it or because of evil intent. But you have to know the law, and then you have to make sure that your commanders and soldiers know it. I know that seems self-evident, but we in our culture have to take time and think about how is it? You and I might spend an hour or 9 hours or 10 hours over the course of a couple months to learn about LOAC. What are commanders doing? What are soldiers doing? Well, they're not. They're not doing this. So how do they know the law? Is it just innate? No. Some of it is because it comes from a moral center. But you and I have to think, how do we pass on knowledge of the law? So when I say know the law is my first point, it's not just you and I. We have to make sure our formations, our military formations know the law. How do you do that? Well, you do it, you leave this environment and you look at your operating environment of your own. Do I influence commanders? Do I influence policy? Do I influence policy makers? Do I influence people doing good in the world? Whatever your job is, you have an ability to impact military formations around the world. Those who have an obligation to know the law and an obligation to comply with it. So part of our job is making sure that commanders and soldiers know the law so that it's in our statutes. So you and I have an opportunity to influence policymakers in our countries. Are some of these laws that are required to be in our statutes actually in our statutes? Is it in our policy? Is the law of armed conflict let's say it's a training program? Is it an obligation on the part of commanders to train soldiers in our formations, our military formations in our respective countries? And then how do they do that? Is it just the lawyer up there talking, or are commanders responsible? So part of what we do in knowing the law is making sure that people in our own circle know the obligations. It's always ominous when you hear that.
All right, good afternoon, good evening, or good morning to you, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to our 10th and final session of our Introduction to IHL course. Today is our keynote address by Lieutenant General retired Chuck Peedy, who was the 40th Judge Advocate General of the United States Army. General Peedy now teaches law of armed conflict and foreign relations law at George Washington University Law School in Washington, D.C., as well as public policy at Gettysburg College in Pennsylvania. He's a graduate of the University of Virginia. He received a commission in the U.S. Army through the Reserve Officers Training Corps, also known as ROTC or ROTC. General Peedy then attended University of Virginia for law school. He has an LLM degree in military law, master's degree in national security and strategic studies,